Hey everyone, today I wanted to bring up a little bit of a different discussion topic in regards to whether Capcom will end up having some sort of reaction to what Wild Hearts is attempting to do as the upcoming release gets closer for February 17th of next year. We're going to be going over a couple of quotes from Andrew Wilson, the CEO of Electronic Arts, which has some interesting things to say regarding the release for Wild Hearts and some of the ideas that they had and some of the things that they are trying to bring into the monster hunting genre. In general, I do think it's funny that they're finally starting to call it a monster hunter genre instead of a creature hunting genre, which is what they discussed it as before. But more importantly, I'm interested in if Capcom is gonna take notice to what this game is actually doing, and the next Monster Hunter set of games will end up taking away some lectures, some ideas, some inspirations as to what Wild Hearts is trying to do. If you haven't necessarily been paying attention with some of the information that has come out of this game for already, there were plenty of gameplay clips, early build gameplay clips, as some content creators did get access to the game relatively early on, about a month ago or so. A lot of people were complaining about not necessarily just the combat and the gameplay mechanics, which, you can certainly say that because it's not just Monster Hunter, it's a faster game overall. But they were complaining about the visuals, and I don't necessarily why people always complain about visuals when it comes to early builds. They are not indicative of the launch day code. The game is gonna look better once it launches. I think Pokemon Scarlet and Violet are the best example that we can literally recall within the past week or so, as of the time of this video going live. If you had been looking at the Pokemon Scarlet and Violet previous trailers, a lot of people obviously complain about the visuals. But then if you looked at the most recent trailer, I should be overlaying that somewhere right now, it looks way better than it did before. There's direct comparison images, and the game just looks completely better. People are complaining about frame rates. That doesn't necessarily seem to be the case anymore. It's just, of course, as we get closer to launch, games begin to look better. People continually forget that there's always a disclaimer in the bottom that it's an early build. It's not indicative of launch code. So, of course, people will complain about visuals all the time. So, Wild Hearts, while, didn't necessarily impress, let's say, early on, I think one of the things that went probably completely underreported was the fact that it doesn't have microtransactions, at the very least of the time of launch. A lot of people were expecting EA to kind of riddle this game with loot boxes and stuff like that, pay DLC, season passes. That doesn't necessarily seem to be the way that they are approaching it, at the very least for early on day one experience. I'm sure they will add in some things post-launch. If they do the same thing that Capcom does with layered armor and stuff like that, obviously it will be just a one-to-one with, obviously what Sunbreak is doing now. So can't really be a hypocrite and complain about them doing that when Monster Hunter is already doing that. But it will be interesting to see if they choose to go the season pass route and stuff like that, which again, if they choose to go that route, then it's just a completely different conversation. And I'm sure Capcom will probably take that as a cue for them to go ahead and do the same thing. And I'm hoping that they do not. So Video Games Chronicle had an interesting discussion with Andrew Wilson, the CEO of Electronic Arts. I'm not going to read the entire thing. I'm going to leave a link in the description below for the entire article. Huge shout out to them for actually getting some brand new details. I will read a specific section of this with some of the quotes that I think stand out the most. And this is where I want to bring up the direct contrast with Monster Hunter, and if Capcom will eventually end up taking this as an approach for them to end up doing the same thing or something similar heading forward. The article reads that players can either journey through the lands of Azuma as a lone wolf or pack hunt with two friends in co-op with cross-play support across all platforms: Xbox One, Xbox Series X, Series S, PS4, PS5, and PC as well. This is not a Nintendo Switch game. And in quotes that you mentioned, Andrew Wilson, it started with what felt like a pretty small idea for us internally, and every time we saw a product, we were wowed and mesmerized by what we were seeing, EA boss Wilson said during the company's second quarter earnings call on Tuesday. He continues, "The Monster Hunter genre is a relatively new genre. It exploded. It is ripe for innovation and creativity and expansion. And what we see here is the team doing all of the things for the community asking for it in the genre. And the response so far has been really, really strong," he continued. "And so I don't want to get out over my skis on this one, but I would tell you that I saw it and I think it's incredible. The community saw it and they think it's incredible. How big can it be? Question mark. We don't quite know yet. But I think there's a path for this to be a real cool opportunity for us and for the development team and for the community at large. And ultimately, I do think there's partially truth to that statement, that because they are trying to do something different, you are not necessarily hunting monsters in the slowest, more methodical monster hunter approach. They are doing something more faster, more akin to what building. The building mechanic is weird. I understand a lot of people are compared to Fortnite. It's not remotely close to Fortnite, but there are some real differences that they're trying to do. And it does make me wonder, since we have seen Capcom trying to speed up Monster Hunter in most recent releases, it does make me wonder if they would continue to speed up the game and try to match ultimately what the next game, Monster Hunter game, will be doing, what Wild Hearts is doing. Wild Hearts is not necessarily too concerned about probably perfect dodges or perfect evasions or anything like that. It's just about kind of like a full action game that you're still Monster Hunter. It feels kind of like Devil May Cry-ish, if you will. Maybe not as fast, maybe not as hectic, with the understanding that you're still playing with other players. You are still dependent on KO damage, stuns, you know, using the traps or the building contraptions that they're using. So you're still making use of like co-op and working together with other players, but it's still a hectic, fast game that seems to be, you know, interesting in its very own right, and it's building kind of its own niche. And that is like what I wonder if Capcom will be willing to chase after in the future, with a slower, more methodical Monster Hunter game, which has been kind of like the outcry for Western gamers. One of the reasons why they always said they didn't necessarily find Monster Hunter approachable, it was because it was slow, it was methodical. This is pre-Monster Hunter World, and World sped up the game significantly. Of course, the visuals helped, and then it changed the perception of the franchise to record heights, to record sales. And then Rise and Sunbreak sped up the game even faster, and now it's just a completely different experience than what you had back on the 3DS. It doesn't even feel remotely close. So it does make me wonder if, you know, again, the speed of Wild Hearts is something that Capcom will choose to match heading into the future, and forgo some of the more nuance, some of the more technical aspects of the franchise, just to kind of chase after that same Western audience that just kind of wants a Bayonetta Devil May Cry game while you're still hunting monsters and crafting new armor sets and still getting that base Monster Hunter experience in a different combat style. So I certainly want to hear your guys' feedback on this. Do you think they will try to do that? Do you think Wild Hearts will be successful? Certainly want to hear people's opinions on this. If you're brand new to my channel, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. Hit the bell to receive notifications when the videos go up. And as always, thank you so much for watching. See ya.